Welcome to Podcast Toten. My name's Rad.
Matt.
This is Tack.
So we're finished up with Group 935 facilities. So let's start talking about some Division 9 facilities. So we only really know of two. Originally, the Rising Sun facility was a Division 9 facility, and then within the Prodition fracture, there's the Island facility. So I guess let's first talk about the origins of Division 9, right? That'd probably be a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the timeline says they were established in 1937 after they found meteor fragments in a swamp in Japanese territory, wherever that is, and then they built the Rising Sun facility to research there. So that's their first facility.
They create it specifically for this purpose.
Right. And so, Tag, you want to explain the origin of the name Division 9 and its significance?
Yeah. So in real life, Japanese, right? This is the Imperial Japanese Army. They created a group of individuals known as Unit 731, which performed a lot of, in zombies world are very fun and, interesting experiments. But obviously in the real world, those are very sad. But that is what. So underneath Unit 731 are 8 divisions officially, and so in Zombies World we've got a secret 9th division for the Rising Sun facility.
Oh, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that answers it. So it's not. It's a section of 731, but not the entirety of 731.
Nope, there are other units within 731, and so that was a it was funny. It was a very nice way of them to slip that in there. Just do division 9 of 731. But we all had a decent idea that it was 731 related, I think, originally. With that, we didn't get Division 9, for a long time, obviously. But I think even theories were circulating even during the Shinonuma days and, mainly the Black Ops 1 days about some obviously it was the Black Ops intel, that's right, from October of 7? Was it, Rad?
For
the one that mentions Manchuria.
I'm not sure about that, actually.
Yeah, that was the one. But anyway, so yeah, there's the Black Ops intel for on Rebirth Island that talks about Unit 731 and Japanese weapons programs and stuff like that. And just the fact that it's a very famous, heinous, group. Just there were people had suspicions that it was Unit 731 from the beginning.
So, I guess how do we connect that specifically to Rising Sun facility, based on what we know?
So, I'll throw out this a fun theory that originally got us also thinking that the Rising Sun facility and Unit 731 were connected. Obviously, if you look around Shinonuma, there are all sorts of logs, and it's like woods, like a lumber mill almost. And so one of the most prominent Unit 731 facilities was known as, what was it, Pingfan? I don't have it up.
Yeah,
and there they would do human experimentation, but they would refer to the humans as logs, and they called the whole place a lumber mill. And so I think that might be the connection here to the Rising Sun facility.
Yeah. I mean, I think Shinonuma was still so early on in the. Well, I mean, it was the first real, I feel like, CODs kind of flavored map. And I guess there's still kind of that this is even before Derice, where there's still, I guess, looking for that identity of what everything's going to be, because it's just sort of general undead testing. I mean, we didn't mention the ray gun and stuff, and I think that was in parallels in real life, right? Wasn't there sort of the conspiracy that the Japanese were working on some microwave-based weaponry. So it just, it seemed like that was sort of the general gist of what Shinonuma was supposed to be, kind of the catch-all for the sort of the Pacific theater kind of wacky adventures and pseudoscience, I guess.
It's only, I didn't really think about this, but like in Black Ops, in the intel, that's kind of, or not the intel, but the terminal, that's kind of like the first place where it's described as a Group 935 facility. Even though, I mean, you would assume just based on the Japanese soldier zombies that it is connected to the army and therefore Unit 731. But like, and then Timeline has to like rectify that, saying they handed it over for whatever reason. Why would Division 9 hand over their primary facility? I don't know. It's strange.
Right.
So like maybe they were unsuccessful up until this partnership. Who's to say?
Did we mention it in the other video? We thought maybe if it was, I don't even know the how.
Oh, what the
Yeah, if it had to do with like if it was close to Russia or something like that, maybe by putting it. If this is before the, Germany broke the
right, the
sort of
Russian pact,
yeah. So, because it is interesting, because obviously there's the setup to Durice, but this was the first map that came out, so you would think that since they were starting with, I mean, I guess they had Verruckt and stuff, but it's just interesting that they didn't really create a background of the organization working in Shinonuma. It just sort of filtered right into, we're going back to Germany in 935. Because I mean that's the first time we get Dempsey, and co. I don't know. I always remember this is like the first, like I said it before, the first real like CODS map where I feel like this story in the franchise really started to take a life of its own.
Right. It's reality conspiracies like Grim Lake, Tunguska.
Yeah.
Right, like we talked about in the I forget which video now. It was the one where we talked about Purnell.
Mm-hmm.
Like their first real attempt at, like a radio and just all these things. It was glorious. But yeah, okay, so back to your point, and then we can move on. I am curious now that I didn't even think about it until I read this entry, like you said. Why would the Japanese give over a base to the Germans in the middle of, I mean, I think Manchuria, but even like Japan or China, like wherever, like what? That's pretty fucking far from Germany.
Right. Which leads me to believe they must have a much bigger operation in the Empire of Japan, and two, maybe that does lend credence to the idea that they were also operating at Verruckt. But I do want to talk about that at some point.
Okay, we'll save that part.
Yeah.
I mean, it could also be like, if this is the 9th Division of 731, maybe just, Germany was also, we're, working on this in spades, and this is sort of our area of expertise. So maybe they're like, okay, we'll give you the 115 stuff, and we'll work elsewhere or something.
I also doubt there's very many, like, like other organizations working with Element 115 that you can partner up with. So
I got to assume it's basically the major powers at the moment, and that's I mean, anyone who can afford to do this kind of research, and also keep a a wartime. But you got to think there's meteors other places, right? It's not like just that meteors landed in the United States, China, or sorry, Russia and Japan, and like all these got to be elsewhere, so they're just not being worked on.
I think it's probably that they were in their infancy, sort of like using the Broken Arrow as an example. Probably all those other, unless they're just so minor and insignificant or they never really got the renown as Group 935. But my initial guess would be it probably would start off as like the OSS was looking into this information, and then as time goes on, they then branch off and create like Broken Arrow, after it becomes like the CIA, and then breaks off from there. So I'm guessing, around the world, unless these things weren't caught, or they were just small local groups, it probably was just general like intelligence agencies or small groups that were working on it, and then over time, because it seems like the Ascension group and Broken Arrow, a lot of that was because of their getting the intel from Germany and Japan. So even then, those groups were sort of a response to, or still kind of continuing the legacy of like 935. So I guess it makes sense that I guess inevitably a government or anything will sort of create their own organization to deal with that. But
Right. Also got to assume that like, well, because we know Group 935 is like a pretty big organization and it's international. I would imagine most of like Western scientists would love to work there if they're going to work with Element 115. So that's probably where most of them would go rather than start up something new in America. And then I guess any scientist in the East would go to Division 9. So I imagine it's just because, yeah, like the small concentration of areas to test with 115 and brain power.
I still kind of, I guess the story keeps it sort of vague, but since 935, yeah, has been mentioned as like an international organization. I mean, was it, I feel like that was short-lived, right? Where they start to pick people from all over, and then it just seemed to coincide with the rise of Nazi Germany, and then they get tacked on to.
Yeah, you would think that, but it's like, well, okay, yeah, in the beginning, it's like Richthofen's like, we have people working all over the world with us. This Nazi deal will ruin us. But then it's also like, by the end, they have several American scientists, and I mean, they're known as being American, like Ian and Peter.
Yeah, because like I wonder if it started off where, yeah, I mean, yeah, it makes you have at least those three. I just wonder how well known is it, because the impression that I always got that maybe among scholarly circles they're like, oh, Group 935, but it just seems like it wouldn't be a common, like a household name or anything like that at that point.
Yeah.
And then it was tied to sort of a secretive. Because you have like the OSS and all these other groups trying to infiltrate it, which makes me think that to some extent there's still a lot unknown about it, and that it's just some maybe there were other organizations too. That's why I don't know. It's interesting that it's like international, but at the same time it doesn't really seem that well known. Like unless you're within the academic fields of whatever.
Group 601.
Yes.
Yeah. So that basically, I think that for the moment covers the original timeline, right? Just like the Rising Sun facility.
Right.
And so then we've got in the, I think we have written Prototone. Is it Prototone or Prodition?
I say it differently every time.
Okay, word.
Keep everyone on their toes.
Right. So in that one, so in the original timeline, we've got the Rising Sun facility operates through through 40. Do we know actually through 45? At least through 43.
At least it goes to 45 because there's like that. There's a cipher from Zetsubo where it's like this might be a fracture thing. I don't know, but it's presumed to be because Peter lands there.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the new fracture in 42, overrun by the undead, the Rising Sun facility is lost, and so then they begin construction of the island facility, which they finish by October of that year. Yeah. And I mean, then it basically just goes through all the, the Tachios dispatch there. So I guess, okay, let's start with this. It's February 6, 1943. Division 9 expands experimentation to include use of prisoners of war, Division 9 staff, arachnids, and mystical beasts. So, question I have there is, okay, it says expands experimentation into these things. What were they experimenting on before?
Just 115.
Oh, word. Okay.
Just on like animals, I assume.
And then they do a little bit of that beautiful expansion, start working on people, start working on their own staff, which is unfortunate for them.
They weren't loyal.
Okay.
That's what you say. Not loyal.
Well, I mean, I guess it is true. That's right with the Takeo. I mean, he wasn't staff, but he was still sent there, right? As their
He was trying to snitch on them.
So just get experimented on.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, yeah. So they're working on some crazy things. Well, you said in the mystical beasts are dragons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dragons for Germany's western or eastern front, which ties into the Agonia fracture.
Nice. Oh yeah,
And
makes sense.
and the dragons, did they originate in the east, or do we get like where the dragons actually come from?
Like from like maybe
like
like
where
you
the
mean like ancient
eggs?
times?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm pretty sure there's a image from either Alpha Omega or Togno Toten showing the Great War, and there's what I am pretty sure is a dragon in the background. I don't know what side of the Great War it's on, but presumably these are beasts that were in the Great War, like
Gotcha.
destroying castles and.
But does that mean then that that's kind of upsetting because it makes me think that the dragons are actually just related to the Apothicons?
Well, I imagine.
And
Well, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. They're just not
because
like natural.
yeah, natural. I was hoping they were more like natural kind of creatures, but because I mean the design seems more of like what would be like a classical kind of like Western dragon. So I just didn't know like where were they? So
well, I mean,
wyvern or not wyvern.
I to get all scientific on you for a moment. I'm pretty sure the whole thing with dinosaurs is like if you resurrected dinosaurs right now, they would die because the oxygen levels are different because they're so big. Like their bodies are designed for that. So I guess
like
a dragon's
insects.
also that size should not be able to breathe. But if it's survived by with like Apothicon blood, I'm sure it doesn't.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm hoping, that it's more of the wacky magic of 115 that's responsible for why they're around, rather than their entire like why they're around now, rather than their initial existence. But it just seems like since they just kind of show up like at the Great War and stuff like that, it's like, oh, do they just sort of come with the alien invaders? But
there's definitely a lot of wacky like Apothicon magic on the island facility. Like the Zetsubo Island is full of like strange little connections to the Keepers and Apothicons.
yeah, which I just hope it's more that they had maybe a hand in ancient life rather than it's just the dragons are aliens or something like that.
Oh right, I see what you mean. Like they're created to be here on Earth or like taken over.
Yeah, or like they were just maybe like a species that then they were like, oh wow, those are magnificent beasts.
Enchanted the Nagas to make them bigger.
Yeah.
Oh.
Turned into weapons of war and stuff like that.
I would like that.
That's what I'd like to think, that maybe it goes back to the theme that they were always sort of weaponizing nature to begin with, and dragons were the first, by bending that natural force to your will with 115 rather than it's just created. But who knows?
So here's a question for you all friendly people. We have the radio about, Peter jumping over, but we'll save that part. What I'm curious on mainly, they talk about that they're shutting down the Rising Sun facility. Hopefully the new meteor site produces higher grade samples, ones we can actually use. Do you think that this meteor, I guess two-part, do you think the meteor crash site exists in the normal timeline, and do you think further that Zetsubo exists in the normal timeline as well?
I mean, I guess at the very least, Zetsubo probably exists as an island, but that's also another thing. Is there one version of the Keeper throughout the multiverse? Because there's, what is it, the skull of Non-Sopway, yeah. So does that mean that is there always a skull of Non-Sopway, or is there anyway? But I imagine at least the island's there.
But do you think they've built a facility around it?
I don't think so. I don't know, because it's really implied that it's like they made it specifically for this reason, because there's the Rising Sun.
It just also goes with the fractures kind of having their own twist, and I'm guessing that that's probably the twist of this fracture, is that we had to move from the Shinonuma to this place.
I dig it. One of my favorite things in the story is figuring out, just I wherever possible, just because I find it enjoyable, not because anything empirical or anything like that, but wherever possible, I like to say something happening in one is happening in another, unless it's like proven wrong. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to find examples of.
I suppose.
So that's yeah. I think this is one. Yeah, I think I agree with you that this is. They seem to make it pretty clear that they lose the Rising Sun facility and specifically build this. So it seems like the Rising Sun facility was meeting their needs in the original. But then again, apparently not because they gave it to the Germans. I don't know.
So that's what I was gonna say. They never handed I guess this would answer the question, right? In this version, the Rising Sun facility was still under Division 9, and it wasn't handed over to Germany.
Right, it was just
So
abandoned.
yeah, so I'm imagining that kind of answers it then, right? Because Division 9, at least experiments with 115 seem to have been halted, at least, as far as we know, when Group 935 got Shinonuma. But I guess this is the timeline where they never lost Shinonuma and then were able to expand into this, which then I guess maybe accounts for why they were able
But
to
not
get,
even expand. I guess, yeah, I would. It's not
at
even
least
an
like
expansion,
a
it's just a
academic,
move.
like scientifically, technologically, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because they lost the island, but it just seems like what they
What
were
if-
doing.
Okay, so I guess do you said because of the dragons, right? So they still have a relationship with the Germans. I mean, obviously it's World War II, so they will. But like they with Group 935, like I'm thinking,
Yeah.
what if they had like a lesser relationship with Group 935 and just instead of handing them over the base, they just abandon it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I guess that's my question. In the fracture, 935 never takes control of Shinonuma, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering if. Oh, sorry, what'd you say, Brad?
No. I realized. Sorry, I totally misunderstood you. I realized what you
Yeah.
said.
So what I'm wondering is if what's significant about this fracture is this is where Division 9 is able to continue with 115, which explains why we eventually get Zetsubo, because now there is more there. That they were able to tap into, hence the dragons and all the other stuff. So it's like even though they lost Shinonuma, it's still like a timeline where they were more successful than they were in the Ultimus.
Here's a question. Okay, go ahead. This will be like a hint kind of thing.
Word. See, that's funny because I can't tell whether that's what I see. That's an interesting interpretation, and I like it. And I can't tell whether I want to. Okay, I guess what it would take from me then is what I was going to say was I want to believe maybe they still move to Zetsubo in the original. This time they just give Rising Sun to the Germans. But that I guess would kind of I would have to believe they're.
Maybe it might
I
just
have
be
to
not
believe they're doing dragons in the original then.
Yeah, I guess it's. I mean, they could still move to Zetsubo. I mean, and it having it be it's just another facility. Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, you also said, Matt, like there's probably only one skull of non-Subway, unless he magicked another skull. So maybe like the particular one that's in that fracture is just really significant, and so like the other one's just an island with 115 on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, or I mean, who knows? Even if their keepers make multiple versions of like because they're anchored in time and anyway. But yeah, there's probably more than likely. It's just I think the island is still there. Maybe there was a base, but just like take Stalingrad as an example. I mean, Stalingrad's an actual place, but there were no giant robots and stuff like that in the real world.
No,
So
I
it could
definitely
just
believe
be
the islands there. I just wonder if they're, like,
yeah, but I mean, it could still be that though. They could still have some operation on the island, but maybe it just never turned into that. It never got out of control.
Interessante.
Well, I have a observation potentially. Well, because whenever I thought about the reporter says something about in Shadows of Yule, how Mr. Rapp sent him to find artifacts and strange rocks in, he says, Russia and then in the Pacific. We know now Russia is referring to the Siberian facility he was trying to get the Vril vessel. But I assumed at the time that like that meant he got like the summoning key from potentially Zetsubo in Dimension 63. It's like maybe that adds to the significance. Maybe that place is significant across the multiverse.
Oh, maybe, and I guess that could explain why it's the resting place of a keeper, right?
Right.
Because this is the section of the multiverse where the summoning key was, and that's where the keeper was.
Right.
That would be mind blown.
Yeah. So anything else about? Well, okay. I had another observation before we get to like Verruckt. just it's like the Chronicles version of Shangri-La, right?
Mhm.
The round change music is from Zetsubo. Now, is that they just need music, or is that a little something something?
You know,
It's a bit of a stretch, I'll admit.
yeah, it's hard because it's one of those things where it could easily just be the asset change. I
Mhm.
mean, um,
Could be a
was it?
joint operation with Richtoven's people there,
Yeah.
maybe.
But if you
There's no other sign of them there, though, is the thing.
well, if
No, I
you
think it's
really
related.
if you really want to keep it, it would lend some credibility to the idea that the chronicles are maybe other cycles or fractures or something like that. So that could be uh, an explanation for chronicles is having sort of their own canon. That
Ooh.
maybe the Shangri-La is it's a fractured Shangri-La or something like that.
That's interesting. I was gonna say I could see it really being relevant in the fact that I mean we have so many interesting skulls littered across Shang and on the altar, um, that I really want to see a connection there. I'm gonna try to find one till the day I die.
Yeah,
100%.
no.
That's really interesting. I did not. I mean, yeah, it's pretty random and who knows, but I would love that. That would be awesome.
Because it could easily be an asset thing. Because remember, what was it the like
Yeah.
max ammo? Each Shadows of Evil sort of had the Apothecon Cthulhu-esque icon, and then didn't
Oh
it
yeah.
change?
Yeah.
So like, is it just like oh they're just reusing assets or whatever? But
Can I say how fun it was finding those like the real life versions online? Like that sorry, not the Cthulhu image, like finding that exact version on like DeviantArt. You're just like, let's go.
that's why it was
See
changed,
why.
right? Was it
Probably, yeah.
because it was okay? Because it was probably like a temporary art. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean at least that adds more credibility that then there's at least it was intentional to have uh, Zetsubo music.
Because I mean,
Hmm.
they make new music for like Ascension and Moon. Yeah, I think
Did
Kino.
Shang?
No, Kino uses something else. I don't remember what, but yeah, most of them.
Interessante.
Okay, so anything else on known Division 9 facilities?
I don't know,
Um,
but the unknown ones are looking pretty good.
The unknown ones are where all the
right. I
juicy
mean,
content are.
not that we didn't, not that there's probably much to mention, but
Mhm.
just always have to. Any chance I get, I'll say Peter's name. Um, and then just want to throw that out there. Love you, Peter. Hope you're listening. And then there's Takeo is hates it each time. He's so funny. I used to think that like Takeo would be a Division 9 type guy. Uh, maybe it was just because I always thought he killed his parents, but
Well,
That'd
even
be
then,
sad.
I still miss the sort of the like embodiment of traditional like Bushido like warrior this is sort of like the classic dichotomy of like the like warrior versus sort of like conniving rogue. You know what I mean? Like this is like some weird
I think that's why
underhanded.
he would hate Division 9 because they
Yeah,
they experiment on the prisoners of war. They have
they have
no
no
regard
honor.
for them.
Yeah, so
you
that's
know,
kind of.
you know who Takeo reminds me of now that we say it like this? Have you guys ever watched Dexter?
No.
I know of Dexter.
He's a well, the whole basis of the show is that he's a serial killer,
A
but
good serial.
but he has like rules and morals, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it's just kind of funny. If I like thinking of him, the original idea that he killed his parents, but that he's really really honorable, totally makes me think of Dexter. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I think that's all I've got on Division 9. Just remember, kids, Unit 731 bad.
The other thing too with at least the island facility with the possible cloning plants. I mean, it's any connection to Tag's cloning process. I mean, that's one of the things
I
that
would think so.
yeah. Or like if this is maybe if like Tag happened because the island facility never happened or something like that. But that's why they were able to work into cloning. Um, I mean, did we want to talk about the Thrashers? Because I sort of mentioned that beforehand. That I always saw it as they're like the equivalent to like the Flood, where the sort of the significance of the plants. Like I thought it was the plants just sort of feeding on the zombies, rather than like it's some hybrid.
It's just using them as like kind of a vessel and like biomass.
Yeah, biomass and like a source that like it's almost like like a parasite. Like it looks like it burrows into the.
Because we know, I guess that you don't need like a brain for the Apothecon influence. Because I mean, there's like the skeletons.
Yeah, just
Skeletons. You just need, I guess any object can become a living Apothecon thing. I don't know. That's some strange implications.
I just kind of like the idea that it was sort of became more like I don't know, carnivorous, sapient kind of plant that fed off 115, and
That's
and
interesting
that's
because like if you know how it has like those 3 spores, and it's like if you shoot them, it gets enraged, and it grows more spores if whenever it eats a zombie. I'm thinking like it's like eating up their mass, and it's using it to like get more intelligent, so it can be, more agile. But then as you destroy those, it just becomes enraged. It's just like a monster.
Yeah, because that's what I kind of like that idea, that it was just sort of like a highly evolved or experimented on like plant life form that fed on 115, and it was just using the zombie. So it's almost like you have sort of 3 different types of enemies. You have the spiders, you have zombies, and then the plants are sort of their own thing, that they're also sort of just using the zombies as a sort of food source.
So
okay, real quick. Before we move on to the all-important subject you're about to bring up,
okay.
I would like to say one of the most important things about Division 9 to me, what it means to me in my heart, is the logo, which is almost identical or very closely resembling the Dharma Initiative in Lost. Their island, and oh man, we will put it up on screen. Brad, do we have the ability to put it up on screen right now?
Yes, we have the ability.
Okay, we're gonna do that.
I think that's more than intentional, yeah.
It's gonna be lovely, and it's so funny to me. Just the Dharma Initiative, obviously being on the island, and this being their Division 9's island facility, and having that logo look so similar. Are there any cages on the map?
I mean, there's like the sort of
like animal cages. Big
with the
ones.
spiders.
I don't know. Well, yeah, there is like those hanging cages that they put the spiders in.
Interesting.
There's some on the ground.
But yeah, that logo is a thing to admire from me. So just had to throw that out there. I have to bring up Lost every episode, so there it is.
That's funny. I think it's you're on the money with that. I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like it's just speculation at this point, but I'm just so interested in this Revelations version. It's gnawing away at me. The Revelations version of Verruckt, which there's like a waterfall outside. There's like jungle, like trees, and then it has those Zetsubo pods in it, and it's just like, is this supposed to be like some alternate Division 9 version? Was this temporarily displaced into the jungle? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I think.
And there's also Division 9 scientists on the map, and I don't think there's any other places.
On the Revelations version?
Right, yeah.
And there's no 935 for Verruckt?
Well,
no, they spawn everywhere, I think. Like every kind of zombie, but
you mean like on the Revelations map?
Yeah.
There is no Div 9. Oh, that's interesting.
It doesn't, I think, discredit the theory entirely. I mean, there's Buried in Origins, so I almost wondered if it was just like other little references to maps that they could slip in to this, amalgam of a map. Right? Because we do get.
I would think it's part of like Shang, right? But Shang has its whole own section.
Yeah, it does. Why is it Verruckt?
So yeah, maybe it's part of Shinonuma, just kind of melded in. But Shinonuma wouldn't have like a waterfall.
No, you're right. I think the connection to. I mean, because at least the buried part is sort of you get to it from the trenches of origin, so it keeps thematically. But I don't know. I think Verruckt. I mean, does something similar happen in the one Black Ops 4 map where it's like all the. It's just not with Zetsubo, but it's just how everything kind of leads into each other. I don't know. I think it could really go either way. But at least when I initially saw it, I just thought that they're just trying to get as many. You have your main maps that they wanted to make in Revelations, and then maybe they wanted to have references to other maps, and they sort of peppered them in here and there where it was possible.
I suppose. I guess it's definitely more interesting than just like desert or just barren soil, which is what surrounds most of Verruckt.
Yeah, no, but you're absolutely right. It is an interesting choice that it goes there. I mean, the only thing I could think is just because if they did keep with the spooky testing theme, because I mean we didn't get Doris or Kino or anything, so I guess it would be the only map that, while maybe
We got Kino, but yeah.
oh, where's Kino? I can't remember. But
Setsubi.
okay, yeah. But yeah, it just, I guess Verruckt kind of has that same horror kind of questionable ethics of kind of going on that I guess would match with Zetsubo.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's definitely. I think at this point anything's possible.
Yeah.
We've been proven time and time again that anything
True.
is possible. So.
So, anything else to say about Division 9? That was a good one.
Yeah.
I think that's all that's rattling around up here, at least.
All right. Well, see you guys in the next one, whatever that is.
Whenever, wherever.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, or else we're going to raid your home.
Probably not, but
Maybe not me.
yeah. Okay. Okay, bye.